to more Sewing with Michele. Today, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to chat real quick about machine embroidery. And I know when I got my machine, I was stitching like crazy. I was stitching out the embroidery designs. I bought additional patterns and images so that I could create a bunch of gifts for Christmas and birthdays. I was making tea towels. I was making quilt blocks. Like I said, that machine was getting a workout. I was just in love with machine embroidery and all the things that I could do with it. And I know most of you were the same way when you got that machine because it's just so exciting. It's a different type of stitching. You get really detailed or various types of designs. You can do applique. It's just a fun thing. And to me, machine embroidery brings an extra set of creativity and options to the world of traditional sewing that's been done for years. So you take the traditional sewing, you add that machine embroidery, and it's doing stuff that is just quite incredible, to be honest with you. Some of the things that you can do with that machine and the different stitching, the way it's digitized, it's just so much fun. And that's why we all love machine embroidery. Now, with that though, after a period of time, you can continue stitching out those wonderful designs, but at one point, someone's going to say something to you like, this project's in the hoop, and you're going to go, what does that mean? I've been doing everything in the hoop all along, so maybe everything I've been doing has always been, that in the hoop. But what in the hoop means is it's a different way of doing embroidery. So for instance, you generally will make some sort of like 3D object. I've made bags, key fobs, little chapstick holders, little pouches, purses, banners, wall decorations. What else? Wallets. I'm trying to think of some of the other things I've done. It just goes on and on. And what an In the Hoop project does is it takes that traditional 1D type of embroidery, but you're adding other elements to it. So you're actually taking normal things, like if you're making a purse or a little zip pouch, we'll say a zip pouch. If you're making a little zip pouch, in the hoop, you're going to be adding the backing, you're going to be adding the zipper, you're going to be adding the zipper in the hoop, and you're not going to unhoop anything. It just really, it's like a bomb goes off and it changes everything. And it's fun. It is so much fun to do in the hoop projects because oftentimes you don't have to do a lot of precision cuts. You can cut oversized pieces, lay it down. The machine's going to do the stitching, and then it just gets trimmed up in the end, excuse me. It's just it's fun. And in the hoop projects, if you haven't tried one yet, I've got one here for you today. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to show you it. It's a Pickle Pie designs, and it's a wallet. And there's 3 different sizes, and I can't wait to show you more. Okay, so in the hoop, hopefully I've sparked your interest about in the hoop. It is just one of those things, like I tell you, that once you start doing your machine embroidery, it's a natural transition. And I love the fact, like anything, you may have heard me say before that I don't like one-trick ponies. I want to make sure that my pony is going to be doing tricks out the wazoo. So I like that in the hoop means that your traditional embroidery machine that normally does a stitch out that's 1D can create other things like 3D. So it's taking that machine and giving it multiple usages, which is always huge and wonderful in my book. So in the hoop, like I said, is making a 3D object. You're adding a design sometimes, but also you're creating the actual object. So, that can be a purse. In this case, it's going to be these wonderful wallets that I have here. But you're simply going to follow the instructions. Now, here's the Pickle Pie design. And typically, you're going to get a design or a pattern. And in there, you're either going to have a USB or a disc. Now, in this one that you'll be getting, let me pull out the information here. what you get is a CD. And with that CD, you're going to download it onto a USB to put it on your machine. And I'm not going to obviously teach that. That's different for everyone's machines. And the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print out the instructions. Super important, because with any in the hoop project, you're going to have to follow those written instructions. Most of the time, because it is in the hoop, it's very technical. Now, technical doesn't mean difficult. I don't want to confuse you. Technical means that there's certain things that you're going to have to do in the hoop when you're making that product or object. So here's a couple examples. Sometimes you take, after you've started stitching the object that you're working on and in the hoop, you take your hoop out of the machine and you may flip it over and attach fabric on the back with some tape. So having a good machine embroidery tape is super, super important here too. And I'll go over what tools and accessories you're going to need to finish these cute wallets a little bit later. But so that's one thing that may happen is you have to take your hoop out of the machine, flip it over, add fabric. One other thing that I've done within the hoop is I've actually cut the stabilizer. I know it's scary. The first time I had to do that, I was like, oh no, but it's stabilizer. If I cut it, does that mean it's going to be unstable? But I tell you, whoever plans and designs, digitizes these in the hoop project, they're amazing, because what we can do now with stitching is just incredible. The fact that everything's in the hoop and it can do the back side of something, the front side of something, adding a zipper. It's just amazing the things that they have thought up creatively as far as making 3D projects. So sometimes you're going to have to take it out of the hoop, do something, put it back in the machine. You always want to be very careful anytime you take a hoop out of your machine that you do not bump or possibly have it get off kilter as far as where that hoop was. So that's one of my big tips anytime within the hoop is you want to make sure that you're very careful when you're taking your project out of the machine, putting it back in. Another thing that is huge is you want to make sure that you do not distort or get the hoop itself out of in sync. So take special precaution that you do not try to do things on your lap. I don't know about you, but my lap is not flat. So I like to use a nice, hard, flat surface anytime I take my hoop out to protect it so that I'm not causing the hoop itself to get slack. You want to make sure that that hoop is at all times taut and the way that you originally put it in. Because if it does get off kilter, then your stitching may not line up later. So technical, not difficult. So those are some of the things that you may have to do. And then the other thing is so much fun. You simply just follow the instructions from A to B. And in the end, like I said, you're going to get a wonderful object that's 3D in the hoop. Isn't that cool? So I'm going to show you that a little bit later. One other thing that I want to also tell you is sometimes when you're doing in the hoop projects, it does require a larger hoop. So I often will automatically go for the biggest hoop that I have in my machine because that allows me to have more flexibility when I'm taping, say, a zipper down in the hoop. And sometimes I feel like I'm wasting a little bit of stabilizer, but for peace of mind, it's just a no-brainer for me. I always pull out my biggest hoop, and that way I can make sure that I have the room and the area to do all the wonderful things that happen within the hoop projects. Keep in mind, you want embroidery tape, a good embroidery tape for securing things to the back. Some tapes, you want to make sure that they don't roll when the machine is moving because that can create problems. So check your tape. And it's easy and fun. Other than that, like I said, it's not difficult. It's just a little bit technical as far as the things that you do. And I will say this, I know I've said it many times before, I am not big on reading instructions. Every single time I do an in the hoop project, I read those instructions because sometimes if you miss one little step, in the end, everything's not going to fall into place. So you want to make sure, especially within the hoop projects, that you read those instructions, and it'll make your life a little bit easier because, as I've said before, taking out Jack the Ripper, my seam ripper, is not fun when it comes to machine embroidery because those stitches tend to be a little bit more closer together and finer because of the process of machine embroidery. So that's it. Pretty easy as far as stuff like that. Let me get more into the actual pickle pie designs that we have for you today. These wonderful wallets. Okay, so let's talk about pickle pie designs. This wonderful in the hoop project called Wonderful Wallets. Now, like I showed you before, this is the way that it comes, and you get the DVD, and you'll be able to transfer the images down. Don't forget, like I said, to print out your instructions. Super important. But I want to talk a little bit about the tools that you're going to need and also the stabilizers. So typically within the hoop, as well as other embroidery things, you need a variety of stabilizers. So I want you to kind of get used to them. For this particular project, for these wallets, you're going to need a fusible mesh. You're going to need a tearaway, a topper, some fusible webbing, as also fusible interfacing. Now the pattern does require, in its list here, let me see what they call it. They call it fusible seam tape. But I decided that I was going to switch it up. And what I like to use instead of fusible seam tape is I love, once again, our Quilter Select fabric glue pin. It's not a tape. It will work just the same, and it will hold those pieces together until you get them stitched. So now let's go on to tools. So some of the tools that you will need, if you do it my way, or you can use the fusible tape if you want to follow the instructions. But I love my fabric glue pin by Quilter Select, so you're going to need that. You're also going to need, the precision turn tool turner that I showed you before. And this is going to make it turning and birthing your in the hoop wallets a breeze. And the other thing that I talked a little bit about is embroidery tape. Now my favorite hands down embroidery tape is this Kimberbell paper tape. I absolutely love it. One of the things that I know that I've seen people do in many different times is they'll use that blue painter's tape instead of embroidery tape. And the problem with certain tapes, what happens is when your machine has everything in the hoop and it's moving around and doing the embroidery, sometimes the edges of that tape start to curl, and then whatever you're trying to keep taped on the bottom side of your hoop will come undone, and it can be catastrophic. So I like to make sure that I'm using a tape that I'm not going to question as far as how it's going to work. So I love this Kimberbell paper tape for embroidery. It's my favorite. So you may want to pick up some of that too. So with that, the other thing that you will need is snaps. So I use these cam snaps in a variety of colors. And the other thing is you're going to need a zipper. So when you open it up, all of the wallets have a zipper. So depending upon which size of wallet you make, you will need a zipper. A marking pencil, you can use a friction because it's not a quilt, or a pencil, or whatever marking utensil that you use will be fine for this. And then this one, you'll also notice that there's some vinyl. So you're going to want to have a piece of vinyl, but that's optional. If you don't want to use the vinyl, you don't have to. On this wallet here, I have vinyl too, but on some of the other ones, I opted not to use vinyl. So you do not have to use vinyl, and the vinyl is only on the large wallet. So it's completely up to you. I like vinyl though in my wallet because I love, as you can see here, I have my driver's license, and that way when I have to open up something and provide my driver's license, I don't have to pull it out and have to fish it out of my wallet. So I love having vinyl for that particular reason there. So those are the tools and the stabilizers you need. Now going through, I did change some things up. Now I made one complete, and when I was done, oh, that's another thing I forgot. You're going to want some hand sewing needles to finish it up. So in the very first one that I made, which is this one here, they had the area where you birth your wallet on the side here. And unfortunately, I found that that is where all these layers are. And during the pattern, you make accordion folds. And it wasn't difficult. I don't want to say it was difficult, but I don't like to have things where I can obviously see where something is hand sewn. So I opted to switch things up a little bit. And what I started doing was having where I birthed the wallet on the very bottom. And that way, when you turn it, this is all precisely done and it doesn't stand out or look difficult. And the way that I did that was when my machine got to, let me pull up my pattern here. When it got to the last two steps, I just basically stopped my machine, advanced the stitching so that I would stop here, advance it till it got to the other side, and then continue the stitching. And then I did the same thing when it went back and forth. Now there is one stitch, it's stitch number 9 in the pattern, that does a securing stitch along that side, and that's perfect because that holds everything together. So for the first steps, I did everything exactly the way it said. The only things that I altered were the last two, which are on here, it's instruction 13 and 14. I opted to leave the opening on the bottom and made sure that I secured that side step. Now I have one that is completely unturned that I'm going to turn for you. And you can see what I did was on the bottom, I left all those fabrics and everything there. I added just a cutout down here, and that way when I turn it, which I can do right now, it just makes it easier, and then I secure it. So basically I've done all the stitching. Oh, one other thing that I did too. This one is done with the stabilizers that they offered. And then I'm such a renegade. I know I am, but I liked adding just a super, super thin fusible fleece to the backing fabric. And that way it gives it more of a soft feel to the wallet. So that's one other thing that I did that was a little bit differently. So this is the smallest size wallet. And as you can see, I've just gone ahead after the last step, trimmed everything around. You want to make sure that you trim up your corners really good for when you turn them. And I'm just going to start to get it to poke through. Pull that fabric through, birthing the wallet, and then using the precision tool turner, I'm going to use it and I'm going to follow the seam line and poke out the seams so that they're nice and soft. And then especially on the corners, which is why we always need a tool turner. So I use my finger and I just kind of ease it in, and then I use this tool turner to get those tips of those corners nice and perfect. And once again, the beauty of this tool turner is that it's got this nice large ballpoint end, so you're not going to poke through the side of your wallet. Okay. So with that said, then all I would do is give it a nice pressing here, and then I would fold in, once again, the bottom area here, and then I just did a securing stitch on my sewing machine and sewed it shut. So once everything was done, and then add your snaps. So that is this size here. So look how cute that is. So then add your snap and your bottom seam, and you're good to go. So it's that easy, and it is so much fun. I found myself loving picking out some of the fabrics. I'm going to show you a little bit close up of what actually fabrics I have here and the different sizes. But you're going to find once you make one, you're like, okay, who can I make some more of these for? And they go pretty fast. Once you get the technique done and you've done one, then you can glide right through it, and the next thing you know, you're going to be doing a lot of these wallets. And that brings me to another thing. Pickle Pie allows you to make 50 wallets, and that way you can sell them at a craft fair or whatever. There's certain companies that will allow you to use their product to make multiple things and sell them, and Pickle Pie is one of them. So for each wallet, you can make 50 of them, and you can make a little bit of a profit on them. So let me get up close, and we'll show you some of these really close, all the little details. Don't forget, if you go to more-sew.com, you can find the More Sewing with Michele landing page where you can purchase all of these products that I have today. Or you can always click on the link in the description, and that'll also take you to the Moore's Sewing with Michele site where you can purchase these items. And we have the Pickle Pie, wonderful wallets, as well as the precision turning tool, the Quilter Select glue stick, and that wonderful Kimberbell tape. So check it out. Okay, so here's the wallets. So first off, let me show you the big ones. So this is the large size on the back, simple like that. Now here is one. Now in the pattern, they have the instructions to make this one scrappy. So this one I used some of my scrap fabrics that coordinated. Once again, open it up, and you see it's got all the same little pockets. It's got the vinyl and that wonderful zipper and the place to put your money, which is really important. So that is another large size one. Let me put this aside. Now these two are the mediums, and look how cute they are. They're like these little A-frames, and open them up, and they've got 3 card slots, a zipper, so you can put coins and stuff that you don't want to lose, as well as another pocket on the bottom. So lots of pockets. Like I said, 3 card slots, the zipper, and a pocket on the bottom. This one, once again, I know I've told you that I'm a renegade. I use different fabrics in different areas, and then on the outside, I opted to have 2 different fabrics on the outside, where you can see on this one, it is just one solid fabric. So depending upon what you want to do, I always switch things up. But I love, and let me show you real close on this one. You can see where I've just added that seam on the bottom, and it's not noticeable. And like I said, the sides here are perfectly smooth and uniform. So I love that. And then let me show you the small size. Now the small size is pretty fun. This is the last one I was showing you, and one of the things that I love this small size for is, look, it's got the zipper, and you can carry your favorite lipsticks or chapsticks in there. I love it. It's the perfect size for that. You can also maybe put a small emery board, so it's got a pocket here. It's got a thing up here if you wanted to take your credit card, so it's the perfect little wallet to secure. And once again, that's the small size. And depending on your fabrics, you can really make them look pretty cool. So I love that this one, the roses come around to the front. And then this is another one of the small ones I made. So once again, it's got the same fabrics on the outside here. And then I've used mostly one fabric on the inside. But once again, it's got that pocket here. It's got these wonderful zippers where you can put stuff, as well as a slot up here for just whatever, or you can put your credit card there. So I love these wallets, and I love all the different sizes, and they're fun and creative, and you can really get personalized with your, let me move it back so you can see it. So those are the 3 sizes. These 2 are the same width, just that one has more credit card things. So love it. These, once again, are the Pickle Pie Wonderful Wallets. Thank you so much for joining me this week on More Sewing with Michele, featuring the Pickle Pie Wonderful Wallets. Don't forget to go to more-sew.com or click on the link in the description where you can purchase the tools you need to make these wallets, as well as the pattern itself. I hope you have a fabulous week. I've so enjoyed you spending time with me today, and I look forward to next Monday at 10 o'clock. Until then, bye-bye.